Hi, I'm Ray Tatter. Thank you so much for tuning in to LiveWire. This is a very interesting time. We have made concessions to our problems, and we're doing an interesting broadcast live from my dining room. And also, we're going to be talking with Amber Stott, who is a chief food genius at the Food Literacy Center in beautiful Sacramento. So, hi, Amber, are you there?
I'm here. Thanks for having me, Ray.
It's great to have you on. I really was excited by when I finally tuned into your website and I found out a little bit what food literacy is all about. It's kind of it's like almost like, oh my gosh, another crisis. We're in a kind of a food crisis or a health crisis, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Half of Americans are sick, and it is because of their diets. And when that trickles down to our kids here in Sacramento, 40% of our kids are suffering from diet related diseases like childhood obesity, type 2 diabetes, which is preventable. Kids have adult diseases now like hypertension and stroke. And even right now, during this COVID-19 crisis, the California Surgeon General is listing the top priorities to keep us healthy during these stressful times. And one of her top recommendations is that we pay attention to getting proper nutrition because it really can help us right now.
So food literacy can play a role in doing that by what?
Absolutely. It's so simple. We live in America's farm to fork capital, and the solution is growing all around us, our fruits and vegetables. So as long as we're getting those healthy fruits and vegetables and whole grains into our diet, we can really improve our nutrition. It can help us to feel a little less stressed when we're feeling healthy and feeling good. And this also helps with prevention if we're working with little kids to get them excited about eating fruits and vegetables when they're young, because they'll grow up with these healthy habits and they won't develop these chronic diet related diseases. And these chronic diet related diseases also are the ones putting people at highest risk for COVID-19 infection. So it's really critical that we think about nutrition and our health and eating fruits and vegetables right now.
Boy, I can say that. If you say what we're saying is that the strength of beating COVID-19 is really based on, in many aspects, how we have eaten our way to this point.
I mean, certainly there's no direct correlation to unhealthy diets and COVID-19, but it put us at high risk for infection when we do have a chronic disease. So things like diabetes and asthma, obesity are things that are big triggers for having high infection for COVID-19. So of course, ultimately what we want to focus on is how can we, if we're healthy, maintain being healthy, and how can we, with our little ones, make sure that they remain healthy. It's kind of like brushing your teeth. It's the one thing that we do really well as Americans when it comes to prevention, right? We don't wait until we have a cavity to teach our kids to brush their teeth. We start brushing their teeth early so they develop those habits to protect their teeth. And that's what we're doing with fruits and vegetables with little kids. We want to make sure that they're protecting their health for the long term. And that starts by getting them excited about eating fruits and vegetables when they're little.
So if that's the case, that is the mission of your organization then, right?
Absolutely.
Getting kids to eat vegetables?
Inspire kids to eat their vegetables.
Wow, you and my mother, they would have fought together.
Oh yeah, my mom inspired me to eat my green beans.
Oh, and my wife, she does that too. She serves a lot of it,
That's
especially
great.
right now.
I like her already.
So it's very interesting now. You're going to offer some a kind of program online so that people can learn about food literacy and make themselves stronger, make their children stronger, and the like.
Yeah, so we run a nonprofit here in Sacramento, and of course we were doing our kids cooking program hands-on in after-school programs in low-income Title I schools with elementary kids, and we miss our kids so much, and we know that they need these lessons and they need these recipes right now. So we decided to take our curriculum and put it online. So we do 2 videos a week of our classes and our curriculum. We also post all of the lesson supplements, so the supply list, the lesson plan, so that parents can walk their kids through, and then they can also watch these videos as we're doing cooking demonstrations and walking through some of our lessons and activities. And that way, the kids can actually participate from afar. And starting next week, we're also going to begin partnering with the school district's nutrition services department, and we're going to identify the schools one by one, and we're going to drop during the school meal pickup. We're going to allow our food literacy students to also pick up take-home recipe kits that have a box with veggies and the whole lesson plan, because we really do want to make sure that kids get these lessons and get these fruits and vegetables into their hands, and that they can continue practicing the food literacy that we've been working on with them for years.
This is great. So, how, people, if you're watching now, the thousands of people who are now watching and listening to this great program that you're about to begin should get a pencil or recording device, because we want to record your website.
Absolutely. It is foodliteracycenter.org/curriculum, and you can find all of our lessons, recipes, and activities there. And that includes the videos.
Food literacy, yeah. It's if people get that, and that parents can watch it and kids can watch it too, correct? Oh, there it is on the screen.
Yeah, they're designed for the kids to watch, and the parents can play along too. And in fact, our recipes are written so that there are instructions for the adults followed by the instructions for the kids. Because a lot of times parents don't quite know what is it that the kid can do in the recipe and what should the adult do. So we spell that out in our recipes to make it really clear.
Oh, that's good. I think also in terms of food literacy, there's a lot of adults of couple generations. I mean, I was never taught to cook anything. I can hardly boil water.
We actually have 2 generations of Americans that do not know how to select or cook with fresh vegetables. And we know that this is a problem. We've become very reliant on processed and packaged foods. And what comes with processed and packaged foods? A lot of added salt, a lot of added sugar, things that are not great for our hearts and our bodies. And so when we cook from scratch, we can control all of those elements in our diet. And so it's going to require getting to that youngest generation and making sure they grow up with these tools, because it's really hard to undo bad habits that adults have.
That's
so we're hoping
true.
that we can save this next generation.
We can, but possibly, but parents have to buy into that. Otherwise, there's no buy-in, Children will buy in. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you think about the power of pester power, they call it. If you look at the successful behavior change campaigns over the years, they have been campaigns like anti-tobacco and seatbelts. And those 2 campaigns are, sort of held up as being very successful at a national level. But those campaigns did not start by targeting smokers and drivers. They started by targeting kids. Because kids then go home and they pester their parents to put on the seatbelt, just like kids in our food literacy classes go home and pester their parents to buy them broccoli and zucchini.
Broccoli and zucchini, yeah.
Cactus too.
Well, I had broccoli just a couple of nights ago, and I noticed that I was getting more of the broccoli stems than the flowers. And I thought, what? This stem's going to be tough. But it wasn't. It was just as good as the flowers.
The stems are my favorite part. The stems and the leaves are my favorite part.
That's great. I love it. I love it. Love it. Okay, so we're talking about nutrition. We're talking about active change in the kitchen over there, and the change is interesting right now, because a lot of people, where are they going to get all these things? And Susan and I were just going through a couple of days ago the cabinets, and we were pulling down things, and we're looking at the cans, finding cans that were sell-by dates were 4 years ago.
Yeah. And sell-by dates is just one date. You're gonna get a fresher product if you're eating it by the sell-by date. But a lot of times, especially those canned items, will remain fresh for quite some time. So you're okay eating those. But what we do is at Food Literacy Center, we will label as they come in. And so you want to be eating your oldest food first. And what happens when you go to the grocery store and you buy a new can of beans, you put it in the front, and then that can of beans that's older stays in the back. So you actually want to swap those around so that your oldest can of beans is up front and you're eating that first. But yeah, those sell-by dates are for their guidelines for getting the freshest food, but we also don't want to waste food, especially when we're on a limited budget. And right now, with our food supplies coming in so slowly, we want to make sure that we're getting utilizing everything that we can. And all of our recipes are designed based on a low income food budget. Many of the items can be acquired from our local food banks and from our local farmers markets, many of whom also offer EBT, and some of them even EBT match. So we are specifically trying to utilize every part of the plants that we have. So we do have next week, one of our lessons is about food waste, and we make a broccoli potato taco where we actually use the broccoli stems and the broccoli leaves, showing people that these are some of the best parts of the plant. And if you've spent the money to buy the broccoli, make sure you're eating all of the broccoli. So we definitely focus, have that emphasis on our recipes.
I love it. I was reading earlier before we went on the air about a young boy who was served a potato and he didn't know what it was. And the mother, the neighbor mother said, well, that's what French fries come from. And he got it.
Yeah. Yeah, and we see in our program kids who've never seen broccoli, who've never seen pears. So it really is critical that we are getting fresh fruits and vegetables to these kids that we serve, because we know that they come from not only nutrition insecure homes, but also food insecure homes. And so being able to partner with our nutrition services program to provide these recipe vegetable boxes is so critical right now. And we also, we want to make it fun, because if you haven't seen broccoli before and suddenly you have a recipe kit to make a broccoli potato taco, we want to make sure that you're going to be excited and that food isn't going to go to waste. So our programs a lot of emphasis on having fun.
Yeah, food security. That's an interesting term. And then I once had Rock talked about it. I had a job in Indianapolis once, about 20 years ago, and I drove through the poor section of town, and there were no supermarkets. Mm-hmm. I couldn't find any supermarkets, and they were just 7-Elevens, and you know what they sell there, some really delicious foods, usually alcohol-based. And it was an amazing thing. But I think things have changed a lot in terms of supermarkets. But what do we look at? What do we look for in terms of even buying vegetables, when we were trying to buy vegetables for our kids and, get them at a good price and serve them up?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about fruits and vegetables and kids is that one day they're going to love something and the next they're not. And then they're going to go through a picky phase and they might not think they like anything. And so the most important thing that we say at Food Literacy Center is we reintroduce fresh fruits and vegetables and a wide variety over and over again to our kids. It can take a kid 10 to 15 tastes before they decide they like a fruit or vegetable. So if your child tries bell pepper one day and says, I don't like this, be very careful not to say, oh, well, Jack doesn't like bell peppers. It's just that Jack didn't like bell peppers today. And Jack, that's okay if you don't like bell pepper today. We'll try it another day. And then maybe introduce cabbage, and then maybe a carrot. And maybe Jack likes carrots today, but tomorrow he's gonna throw a temper tantrum when you try to serve them. So parents, it's really difficult, but you do have to just continue to introduce new foods, give them a variety, let them choose, and also let them say no, thank you. Never ever, make a big deal about it, because when we do, we're sort of giving undue attention to that, and really it's not a big deal. So today you didn't like bell pepper. That's okay.
about food waste. I once read that a lot of our food is thrown in the trash or the trash compactor. Is there something about that? I'm not sure exactly what I remember, but the person who was speaking was so adamant that we Americans waste food that other countries don't.
And my goodness, the statistics align so much with our diets. So in America, we end up wasting about 40% of the fruits and vegetables that are grown. And then if you look at what we are consuming in America, only 4% of kids are eating their fruits and vegetables. So it makes sense that the majority of the food that's being wasted is the thing that we haven't trained our kids to eat. And it actually is just like brushing teeth. You have to repeat it and you have to sort of train them in the habit of it. And then you as an adult also have to role model it. And this is quite difficult, right? But the joyful part of that journey and what we invite folks to do at Food Literacy Center is to try a new fruit or vegetable every single day. And so, today it might be carrots, tomorrow it might be cabbage. And the more you're trying and the more you're becoming adventurous, we call our kids food adventurers by the end of our program, because after a few weeks of trying new things, they actually tell us that their favorite part of food literacy class is getting to taste new foods. So it takes a couple of weeks to turn their attitude around. But once they do, they actually begin to get excited about finding out new tastes and flavors from fruits and vegetables. So this is one way, absolutely, we can combat food waste is by getting it in our tummies.
That's good. That's good. So now you have a curriculum for this process that you're going to present online, which everybody, if you take all this information down, you could walk us through how the curriculum works step by step.
Yeah, so there is a lesson plan, and the lesson plan has talking points for the adult that is leading the lesson. Then there is an activity. So for example, if we are talking about fat and how fat works in our body, there is a little activity and there's a little printout sheet and you can follow the instructions step by step. But we do this science experiment where we take a brown paper bag and we divide it into sections and we rub different pieces of food on the different sections of the brown paper bag. And then we set it aside to dry. And then we bring back the brown paper bag and we take a look at it and we say, oh my gosh, some of these left a mark and some didn't. Because if you take a wet piece of apple slice, it's going to leave a wet mark on a brown paper bag, but it will dry and there will be no mark. But if you take something like olive oil, it will leave a mark, but it won't dry because that's the oil, right? And so this is how we can tell which foods have fat in them. And then we talk about, there's talking points for the adult leading the lesson about how fat works in our body, and particularly for kids, because kids do need fat because we have fat, our brains are made of fat. So we need a little bit of fat every day. And fat also is a form of energy. So then we talk about the different types of fat. If there are fats that come from animals and some that come from plants. And then there's a recipe. And so for that lesson in particular, we make guacamole. So all of those components, including the activity, there's a video that you can watch someone do that brown paper bag science experiment. And then there's also a video leading the recipe. So every step of the way, we guide you through our curriculum.
That's great. So you do this in a school situation, and so how do parents interact with you in the school situation? And I'm kind of interested in how parents can follow along the curriculum plan you have for online, and you're able to ask parents, so how's Billy or Janie doing on the cooking part?
Sure. And actually, every single lesson has a little survey an online survey. So parents can help their kids fill that out, and it will help us to learn whether or not the kids are learning things from the lesson. And then also we are working directly with the principals that we had a relationship with when school was in session, and so we're staying in communication with the principals about whether or not those kids are, getting it from Google Classroom, and now we'll be dropping these recipe kits with the curriculum at school sites, so we'll be able to interact and hear back from the parents. But typically we are, during the school year, we're in an after school program, and the parents aren't there. So we only hear back from them as they're picking up their kids about, my kid really loved that soup recipe, made me drive to buy the ingredients last week. So we definitely hear back that parents do love cooking these recipes, and the kids ask them to, which is the important part.
You just walked into my next question. It has to do with ingredients. When I was reading earlier about the ingredients, you said that the ingredients are not going to be exotic. You're going to be pretty much accessible, and they're not going to be expensive.
Absolutely. They're very practical, very simple. I would say that guacamole is the most expensive recipe that we make, and everything else is extremely affordable, extremely practical. The ingredients are easy to find. So for example, the recipe kits that we'll be passing out next week, they're for something called rainbow soup. And in that rainbow soup, there are potatoes, carrots, and celery, a little bit of cauliflower, and then a spice packet that we're sending home with the kids, and a little bit of quinoa, and then it's 8 cups of water. So it's actually quite easy and very simple to make.
Good. And about the health benefits, those are all part of the, I hope, all part of the sales job, that people who are not necessarily, because it was sold to me by A, my wife, and B, my mother.
Great women. I like them.
Yeah, how good it is. And because as a child, certainly I was not a big fan of things like boiled carrots.
Well, the great thing about our recipes is that when school is in session, we are serving 100 students every single day. So we get immediate feedback as to whether our recipes are working or not. And so we have tested these recipes with thousands of kids over the years, and we know which ones have worked and which ones don't. And if they don't work, we immediately throw that recipe out and replace it with a new one. So the recipes that are in our curriculum now, we're a 10-year-old organization, and they've been through the testing. So these are all kid-approved recipes.
The toll on our health we were talking about earlier, the toll on our health. But if, let's say I say, okay, I'm going to buy into this, and I'm going to buy into Food Literacy Center, and I'm going to follow you, how long will it be till my child is not overweight? I understand a huge percentage of Californian kids are overweight.
Well, and what we're aiming to do is not reverse a problem once it starts. We're trying to prevent these diet-related diseases before they ever take hold in the first place. And that's what's so important, like the brushing your teeth to prevent a cavity. We really need to get kids excited about and falling in love with fruits and vegetables, building the habit of eating fruits and vegetables before they ever have these chronic diseases, because the reversal is obviously a much bigger hill to climb, and you need doctors and medical assistants to do so. So we're trying to get to these kids before they have these problems in the first place.
Okay. Good. So I think it's an interesting thing. So we need to say when this is all beginning again, and let everybody know how to get to you next week. And when is that?
Definitely. So the next recipe, today's Wednesday. So we're doing them live on Wednesday mornings and Friday mornings. So the next live lesson will be this Friday morning at 11:30, and we're doing them live on our Facebook page. And then once they've gone live, we download them to our website and to YouTube. So you can go back and start at lesson 1 at any time. You can follow us along along live on Facebook, and you can find everything at foodliteracycenter.org/curriculum.
Yes, and actually, if you could just remember food literacy, you could Google that and it'll come up. I did it.
Yep,
So
yeah, we're the first one that pops up.
it's not that hard. And oh, my cat just came in. Hi, you hungry? What do you want? I've got some nice chopped fruit for you.
Wrong audience.
There he goes. I guess he didn't like the idea. It's going to take time with a cat. So tell me about other things that you do at the Food Literacy Center. Other
Sure.
things other than this program that you're setting up that's coming online like this is a really good alternative to having it taken to the schools, because you can't do it now. But so what are the other programs that you do?
Sure. We also train food geniuses. That is why I have the title of Chief Food Genius. Once a year, we run an academy where we train community members to become instructors of food literacy. And so they learn all of our proprietary broccoli boundaries and radish routines, which is our teaching methodology, and how we inspire kids to fall in love with vegetables in the classroom. So as one example of what we teach our food geniuses, a broccoli boundary that we set up, these are the sort of rules that we invite our kids to participate in to set an environment where they're going to be set up for success to eat their vegetables. One of those is don't yuck my yum. And so this rule, or this broccoli boundary, is one that, because when kids see a new fruit or vegetable, oftentimes they will say, ew, gross, I don't want that. And that's a negative attitude. And when you're trying to change behavior, you first have to change kids' attitudes towards fruits and vegetables. So by saying, don't yuck my yum, we are putting a rule around having that kind of attitude toward fruits and vegetables. And we have found that the kids very quickly adopt it, because we tell them, what you don't like might be your neighbor's very favorite food, and we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So don't yuck my yum. And so, so we teach this methodology to our Food Genius trainees, and then over time, as they deliver our curriculum, they can also use this methodology to achieve success in inspiring kids to eat their vegetables.
I like it. And what about home cooked meals? I'm interested in how the parents, some people walk through their kitchen because they're on the way to the back to get in their car and go buy food. Then they bring it back in and bring it into the kitchen and only use the refrigerator for the food that they bought down the street.
Sure.
So using a knife in the kitchen, respecting the kitchen, making sure you turn on something and off. Are those things that you teach in the school when you were there?
Yes, we use a little plastic knife with our kids because we're working with kindergartners. And so we start with these plastic knives and we teach them knife skills. So we teach them to make a tunnel when they're chopping and a claw when they're chopping. And we have a whole knife skill set there's a video and a supplemental sheet on our website at foodliteracycenter.org/curriculum.
You're great. I want to thank you for visiting me. Come back and we'll talk more. We've got to say goodbye, so say goodbye. Bye. We'll see you next week on LiveWire.